What if aging was never the enemy? Or perhaps, an even better question than this, what if everything you've ever been taught to fear is actually one of our greatest superpowers? For decades, women have been surrounded by messages telling us to fight aging, lose weight, look younger, and somehow become a better version of ourselves. But what if we've been asking the wrong questions all along? Today's guest believes there's another way. With more than 40 years of experience as a registered dietitian, nutritionist, speaker, and author, Debra Benfield has dedicated her career to helping women develop a healthier relationship with their bodies. In her book, Unapologetic Aging, she challenges diet culture, ageism, and the unrealistic expectations so many women carry. She's inviting us to replace self-criticism with body trust, self-respect, and compassion. Today, we'll explore what it means to redefine aging, why so many women unknowingly carry grief through life's transitions, what body trust looks like in midlife and beyond, and why caring for our bodies may be very different from trying to control them. We'll talk about a term, gentle nutrition. I'm Cindy, and welcome to Beyond the Glass Slipper, a community for women ready to redefine aging, reframe life, and step into their encore with intention, purpose, and curiosity. Here, we believe aging is a superpower, not because every year is easy, but because every year offers us something no one can take away: our experience, our perspective, resilience, and the opportunity to transform those experiences into wisdom. Together, we explore how curiosity helps us intentionally discern what still serves us, what we're ready to leave behind, and what deserves a place in the life we're creating. Debra, it is such a pleasure to welcome you to Beyond the Glass Slipper. Thank you for
Thank
being.
you. Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation and for the chance to speak with you and your community.
I know that you've spent more than 40 years helping women develop healthier relationships with their bodies. Looking back over your career, what first drew you to this work, and how has your perspective evolved over the years?
Wow, that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I think I'm an unusual registered dietitian in that my undergrad was not about nutrition. It was about a combination of psychology and world religions. I had a lot of curiosity about human behavior and human experience and spirituality and a much more expansive perspective. Before I became a registered dietitian, I got a master's degree in nutrition science as a way to speak, especially with women, about how they felt in their bodies and care for themselves. So these are thoughts that I had in the late 70s, early 80s. I'm not sure quite where that came from, but I obviously had my own concerns, my own body issues, watching my friends and family, the women in my family and their relationship with their own bodies and how they nourish themselves. Like piqued my curiosity. So when I first started practicing early in my career, I started sharing clients with therapists because I knew that what my clients needed was more therapeutic than I could offer as a registered dietitian. So I started partnering with one particular therapist who invited me to join her practice, and she specialized in eating disorders. So early in my career, I started working with women who particularly struggled with disordered eating and eating disorders. And when you do that, you start to really understand the damage of diet culture. And then, of course, when I turned 60, I'm 67, I got curious about what the most current research is saying about how to support our vitality and our well-being in this chapter of our lives. And I was very disappointed by the oppressive diet culture messaging. With what I was reading, it was still very, very focused on thinness. And that just did not calculate.
Okay.
Mostly because I know that when women hit midlife, and older, their bodies are changing. And to feel like you're white knuckling around controlling your body and restricting and over exercising, you're going to trigger more disordered eating or perhaps a relapse and an eating disorder that you had earlier in your life, which happens quite a bit. So that's why I started creating new content and developing an online group and then a book about another way to look at your body changing, how you care for your body without being so focused on controlling your body.
Thank you for that. I did try to pick up an actual hard copy from my local Barnes and Noble, and they did not have it. I did get the ebook, and I'm in the process of reading it and finding it very interesting. I'm struggling between two questions. I had done an episode on grief, and then I saw your post about grieving the changes and the loss of our body is what attracted me to your story. And interestingly enough, I think when we met, Deborah, you had said that you were surprised at the amount of attention that you received from that one post. What drew you to writing that post? And the next thing is, why were you surprised by all the attention that you got from that post?
Well, I am not an influencer. I don't intend to be anybody's guru about any of this. So my posts, garner some attention, but nothing to the degree of that particular post and that post was not only about body grief as we experience some actual changes in our bodies as we age, but also the fact that it feels like there's not a space for this conversation out there. It feels like people are either fear mongering around the changes of our bodies and lots of anticipating decline, a very what I consider to be harsh and fearful perspective. I'm sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. I'm going to have to cough.
Okay. Some water.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I hope this will be the only cough that I have.
That's okay.
And the other perspective feels almost like toxic positivity, almost like, yes, it's very true that aging is a privilege. I lost my best friend when we were in our 50s. There's no doubt about it that aging is a privilege that we are grateful for, but to hold both of those, to have some access to gratitude for the fact that we are living and also being honest about the fact that there is sadness and loss in this part of our lives, with our own bodies changing, with our friends and family experiencing loss and their own issues. I mean, to me, we need to hold both. And that's what that post really said. And I think that's why it got so much attention, because I think it resonated deeply based on the many conversations I've had with many women that really was rooted in that post. And that conversation has continued to happen. It's only been maybe a month since that happened. So it's still ongoing. And
Yeah.
I think that the capacity to carry both, honestly, to be very vulnerable in the fact that there is sadness within the acknowledgement that we're grateful.
Grateful. Yeah,
So it's tricky.
it is
Yeah.
tricky. Sometimes it's hard to balance.
I've done quite a bit when I was writing the book, I did a lot of reading around aging and ageism, death acceptance, all sorts of, I tend to be nerdy and like to read and research anyway. And you can imagine when you're writing a book, you just are taking in so much information.
Sure.
Part of my understanding about grief is how healthy it is to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and not push it down so that you can actually come to an acceptance and then therefore move into what's next. You can get very stuck if you're not allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, to grieve.
I totally agree with you. And my motivation for writing the podcast on grief was the fact that experiencing grief in my life and the expectations from other people.
Yeah.
Moving on to your book and the reviews that I've read, first of all, bravo on all the
Thank you.
reviews, and women are getting a lot out of your content. What inspired you to write this book?
I think I felt like nobody was saying this. I felt like there was a void, which is pretty wild to consider. Like, it feels like nothing's really new, right? Everything's already been said. But this felt like there was a black hole. My writing is about the intersection of how diet culture is affecting our perspective on aging and ageism, how the anti-aging messages and some of the pro-aging messages and diet culture, the intersection of all of that is such a marketing machine for the industries. When I was writing the book, I did the research on how much money we're talking, and it is mind blowing how much money is being made off of particularly women in midlife and older. I mean, there is a menopause gold rush that is very real. People are making an awful lot of money out of our fear and our need to be in control and make our bodies fit the cultural ideals. We are very vulnerable. So I think I wrote my book out of the intense need to get another message out there that felt very much like I'm a feminist, so that women needed a strong message that was not so mired in the fear about our aging bodies. I was like, what if, as you started this podcast, like, what if the changes in our bodies are actually protective? What if the design of having a softer body is like protecting us in lots of ways? What if it's nothing to be afraid of? I mean, yes, we need to pay attention. We need to be intentional about how we nourish ourselves and continue to move our bodies and to work with our mindset and have the research on a negative, fearful perspective on aging actually being detrimental to the point of shortening your life by 7.5 years. I mean, we need to work on our mindset. So all of those things are real. I mean, we need to have intention,
Yes.
but I don't think we need to be obsessed with it. I mean, I think there's a balance. The need to count the grams of your macros and do the intense workouts. I mean, it could be a full-time job. I went for a walk with a dear friend, and we just kind of playfully discussed what would it be like if we did all the things we should, in quotes, be doing to be healthy right now. We would have no time to live our lives. It's just
Right.
very, very demanding.
Oh, I know. I've had the body scan done. I know that I don't consume enough protein and I've supplemented a bit with protein shakes, but I'm not driving myself crazy about it.
Yeah,
That's another conversation maybe for some other time. I want to ask you, and I apologize, Deborah, because I didn't prepare you in advance, but I
it's
know
okay.
you're also schooled. I've been reading, and I believe you're on a podcast where the topic came up about gentle nutrition, and there's research supporting it that it can
Yes.
be
Yeah.
effective. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I feel like I have to give this some context because as a dietitian who has worked for so very long to support women with serious eating disorders, I tend to prioritize mental health. And
Okay, that makes
that
sense.
is my bias, that I want to make recommendations that will be less harmful than I consider some of the messages that women receive about controlling their bodies through their nutrition. So a gentler and almost a safer way to approach supporting women around how they nourish themselves is rooted just as much in your own body's inclinations and wisdom. I feel like our bodies, this is not true for everybody, and I'll talk about the exceptions.
Okay.
But we are wired to actually regulate our energy intake through our appetite, through our hunger and satisfaction and fullness cues. The people who can't quite access that are people who are neurodiverse or have had an eating disorder or trauma can also short circuit or fracture that connection. And chronic dieters have a very hard time really feeling hunger unless it's intense. So trusting that your body can guide you in what you're craving Like, trusting your body is very, very hard if you've done a lot of dieting. If you feel like you can't be trusted, which is what diet culture actually teaches you, you can't be trusted with the cookies, that you have to be tightly controlling your food environment. And gentle nutrition encourages us to start to trust ourselves, which is so important in my mind, especially in this chapter in our lives, to not be so vulnerable to all of the ridiculous scams out there, to not be buying every single thing and signing up for every single program. You kind of have to trust yourself, trust that you know what's best,
Yes.
trust that you are the expert of your own body.
So important.
Yes, we need to have protein in as we go through our days. Absolutely true. No question. As we get older, we do need higher protein intake. That is not, I'm not debating that. But I think counting every gram would create potential obsessive thought patterns and anxiety and guilt and shame. And to what end? I mean, I just feel like there's a place where you gently apply what we know to be true about nutrition at this time in our lives and not get too rigid with it,
Right.
because that contributes to unwellness, even mental illness.
Right. Interesting. You did a beautiful job with that, by the way,
Thank
because
you.
when I first heard about it and what I came away with initially, and maybe the person that was presenting it focused on the fact that we have to love our bodies. And I agree with that. But I feel like it was, and maybe I'm totally wrong in thinking this after your explanation, is that it was sending out a message to women that you probably shouldn't be having that extra cookie right now. The weight that you're carrying is not supporting you personally in your health journey, if you will. And that with gentle nutrition, it was telling them it was more important to be gentle with yourself than to employ an increased level of discipline with saying, yes, love your body and it's okay to go and have that cookie. I felt like it
Mhm.
was giving women the language to take that pass and not continue on maybe a better journey for their health.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we're all so very unique. And sometimes having a cookie is a brilliant choice because having pleasure in your life allows for mental health, right?
So
It's if
true.
you don't have any pleasure, you will get depressed.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
need to allow for, I mean, especially if you're sharing a cookie with a friend, if there's also social
Social
connection. There's
connections. So
so many aspects of nutrition that are not just the rigid, reductive, like science. Like food is social, it's emotional, it's cultural, and all of that has a place in my mind that's respect. I think to intrude into these systems and come up with a rigid rule set that you cannot eat a cookie is more harm, does some harm.
yeah.
So I think I want us to all stay curious about our own unique lives
Gosh.
and feel empowered to make choices so that we can trust our own instincts. I mean, a lot of disease can be prevented if we stay connected to our bodies. If we get disconnected from our bodies and just follow the rules, we don't pick up on important information that may be
Right.
something that you need to be paying attention to.
Right. The nuances that can really make
Yes,
a positive impact.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting. So thank you for clarifying that for me. And I'd
Sure.
love to go back to your book because I kind of
Okay.
got off on a departure there. Since your book was published, I'm wondering what has surprised you most about the responses from your readers?
Well, as a person who wrote a book at this stage of my life, I mean, to be a debut author at
Yes.
67 is pretty wild. I would have never expected this. I mean,
I
I've always been bookish and liked to write, but for some reason, it's a surprise to me to be an author at this time in my life. So it's so bizarre to hear people talk about how they have been deeply affected by your writing. I mean, it's this, I can't even describe it. It's
That's
a surprise and a delight and deeply rewarding, I will say. I've just had so many meaningful conversations with women who were like, "You have no idea how much your book is." Like, I'm trying to just use it as my guide
that
to try to
that
stay connected to themselves.
that is so awesome, and just the experience that you're getting out on the back
Mhm.
end after having published it. I mean, you put all the hard work
Yes.
in. It sounds like you've been a hard worker all your life. That's not something new to
Mhm.
you, and
True.
now just enjoy the benefits. I mean,
Mhm.
they're so far reaching. You here today are part of my Encore Expert series and importing your knowledge and your wisdom to my audience. But you are also very much a fabulous shared story because you're exactly the community of women that I'm trying to bring together to support one another.
Mm.
And instead
Mhm.
of saying, "Oh my God, at 67, I can't believe I did this," it's more like, why not at 67?
Yes.
You're continuing to make life happen, which is
Yes.
awesome. So we touched a little bit on the grief, and I want to go back to that because the responses, and you had mentioned that even though you posted a month ago, the conversations are continuing. And if you
Yes.
don't mind sharing, what are some of the women you're talking about?
I think my understanding so far is that women are saying they didn't feel like they had permission to talk about this somehow. That this is, I had somebody really challenge me when I said that. I was like, what do you mean? We have permission to talk about whatever we want. And yes, that is true. Yet, so many women, and I would say hundreds of women, have told me that they didn't feel that they had that permission, that they needed to like either just be grateful and keep going or like to do kind of what you just said a few minutes, like to kind of slow down and get quiet and get
Yeah.
invisible and
Be
fade
thankful
away.
for everything we had and just
Yes.
go off
Gracefully. Yes,
gracefully
exactly.
in the night. Yes.
So if there was, I just think it was an opening that many women resonated with. Was like, that's exactly, I mean, so many women said that's exactly how I feel. And I haven't like realized I haven't named it as grief because I think people do have grief in their lives and they understand something about that, but they hadn't thought about applying that to how they feel in about their bodies changing.
Yeah.
And sadly, I mean, this opens up a huge door. I think so many of us have equated beauty, thinness with our worth, right? I think that's the
Yes.
culture has
Yeah.
really, it's deeply, deeply entrenched in us. So when there's loss around beauty, thinness, and appearing young, you feel like you are no longer of value. And
Exactly.
there is grief in that. Now,
Absolutely.
I don't think it's true. I think we're all still very worthy, regardless of size, age, and appearance. Yet the feeling is that we're not as valued and we're not as worthy. We're not as lovable. You know, we just don't have the sense of belonging that we might have felt in earlier days.
Sure.
So these are real feelings. These are real losses. This is very real grief that I don't think the women that were interacting with me, really recognized as grief. And
Grief.
so once you name it as that, the fact that our aging bodies, our changing bodies bring up sadness and loss, along with many other feelings. I
Yes,
mean, yes,
absolutely. There's
lots of other feelings.
feelings. Absolutely. And there's some positive feelings along the way, and that's
Absolutely.
to hold
Absolutely.
on to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I this is a huge challenge. I would like to make grief a neutral word and not a negative word. Because to me, grief is just what is. It just is part of life. Can we just accept that grief is part of life and not make it so negative?
I 100% agree with you.
Right.
The bottom line is that unfortunately it does happen. And so
Mm.
I think that putting it in perspective, I'm with you on that challenge.
Yeah. I think just making age, I am all about finding a neutral perspective on these words that we have this pejorative, judgy, kind of culturally laden relationship with. to just make it part of life and just accept it as is, we don't get stuck so that we don't drop into shame. I mean, nothing will drop anchor in your life more than shame.
Yeah.
It just keeps you stuck. So to bring it into the light, to talk about it, to like share it, helps to de-shame and allows us to then have enough space to move.
Yes, I totally agree. Wow, we're really hitting on some pretty deep things here, but I think I would like to get that message out, and I support you in that challenge for sure. One of the things I'm thinking back to one, I'm going to quote a sentence from your book, and it's your body is your life's partner, not your life's project. That really resonated a lot with me. And what does body trust really look like to you?
Yeah. This is something I've been writing a lot about on my Substack. I think since the grief post kind of woke me up to have people want to have a deeper conversation.
Okay.
I've been looking more into like, what's it like to be connected to your body? What does it mean for your body to be your partner? I think to me, life happens, all of our life experiences happen in bodies. I mean,
Right.
that's how we experience all the things in life. And if you are more comfortable in your body as your home, then it allows for, in my mind, deeper presence, deeper intimacy with your own experience, more vitality, more access to your lived experience. We're living through our bodies. So if we have a more comfortable relationship with our bodies, we're not fighting and at war with our bodies, which is what my clients describe. They feel like they are fighting every single day, like literally fighting aging, fighting changes. It is a distraction outside of your body instead of actually comfortably in your body. I hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the messages that we're inundated by are all like, "You're not enough, you're not doing it right, you need to be doing this and this and this and this and this." That's what we're constantly told. So it's very easy to get distracted by making our bodies a project, to try to fix it, try to fix this, fix that.
If I only
And
have this, I'll be happier, which
yeah, yeah. Or I'll be safe, I won't get sick, I won't fall, I won't
right,
there's a lot we can't control. I mean, again, there's a balance. I'm a dietitian. I want people to make choices to support their best health and well-being at the same time.
right.
There needs to be some acceptance that you can't completely control the thing.
You can't because there's so many illnesses out there that they don't discriminate. It's not a certain body type that has I mean,
Correct.
there are certain things,
Amen.
diabetes, I mean, you know all this, doing the best that we can, but to the point that we're constantly living in a fierce cycle of
Yes.
fear and
Yes.
shame and all those negative feelings, emotions that wreak havoc on our mental health and our cognitive wellness, and we all know that's a
Right.
bi-directional feed, and I think we're really consistent from my perspective anyway, Deborah, the message that we're looking to send to women, consistent. I'm glad that we're having this conversation I'm scrolling down through some of my questions here and going through my mind, making sure that I didn't leave anything out that I really wanna ask you about. The whole beyond the glass slipper concept is dispelling the myths that we grew up
Mhm.
with from society and
Yes.
living today based on what really works for us and knowing our bodies. So
Yes.
beyond the glass slipper, I want to present information. I don't want to teach women anything. I want women to have those conversations and support one another. I want to be the disseminator of information and then pick and choose what works for you. So, with that being said, I'm looking to encourage women to be more curious and look at how can we redefine aging for ourselves. What does that mean? Reframe life. We don't have to live based on the societal norms and what society told me I need to do in my life. And to embrace this next chapter that I like to call the encore. So, Deborah, I'm going to pick your brain here and ask from your perspective What do you see, and not see, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but as redefining aging, is there something you would like to contribute to my community, what it means to you to redefine aging? Or maybe we don't need to redefine aging from your perspective.
Yeah, I think my experience so far in studying ageism and anti-aging messages is that I have a hard time when I'm writing and speaking. I feel like the word aging needs to be replaced
Okay,
with like just living,
okay.
and to really expand and recognize that we've been aging since we were born. Aging means you have more time on the planet. When I'm talking to my grandchildren, I'm always trying to figure out like how I can talk to them about what's old and to make old okay, just like I was telling you before about making it neutral. It's just a description of things being around for a long time. It doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean broken. It means like it's been around for longer. And for us, people that have been around for longer, there's an awful lot of benefit to being around longer, right?
There
An
is.
awful lot of benefits. And I feel like you described before, I feel great. I know I'm very fortunate. I feel really good and I'm very engaged with several different projects that are bringing great deal of reward into my life. And I know things are going to happen that I won't always be able to say this. I know it's a bit of a sweet spot, but I would love for us to understand that growing older is doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to
Agree.
be
I totally agree.
just I mean, so many women that I've met are having a great time in their 60s.
They absolutely,
Having
and
a great time.
that's the women I want to try to bring together, to
Yeah,
encourage those and make that circle hopefully become bigger
yeah.
and bigger.
And I think we need to really I wanna talk to younger women about I didn't worry about wrinkles I mean, they are worried about wrinkles.
So, the fillers and
Oh my
the
gosh, in their
Botox,
20s. I mean, it's just Botox early. I wish we could help them understand that it's not scary. It's okay. You can look older. It doesn't have to be a bad thing.
oh my
It
god,
would save them a lot of money
I know, it's
if
as
if younger people could get the message.
yeah,
Yeah. I literally cannot watch certain actresses that I will not name. I cannot watch them because the entire time I am so disturbed by the plastic
yeah.
face that I'm seeing that it doesn't,
It's
I'm
not
not interested.
attractive, it really
No, I'm
yes,
not interested. I'm not feeling anything because we have mirror neurons. If nothing's happening with your face, I almost don't feel safe. Like, you just
it's
look like a robot to me.
they're not gonna harm you, it's just they're a little scary, that's all.
Yeah, well, they look like a robot and not a real person. I can't relate. I mean, give me a face. Give me like Frances McDormand's face. I mean, her face is like everybody else's face that
It's
is changing.
it
And
is.
and I feel safe with that.
Well, then you'd feel safe with my face, that's for sure.
Yes, me too. And again, I feel I always need to say, like, I also want all women to feel comfortable making choices that they want to make. I also believe in autonomy. I want women to make the choices they want to make.
Right.
That's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's gonna be a whole generation that they're gonna look like they're somehow related.
Well, and they all look the same. I mean, there's a sameness.
There is a sameness, and they're not seeing that right now, the younger generation, because they all wanna strive to look like that.
There's a lot of pressure. And there are a lot of filters. And when you grow up with all the filters, I mean, it's a very different experience. I am glad that that was not going on when I was younger.
Yeah, me as
I
well.
don't know what choice I would have made. Yeah.
Right. So I know that we're coming close to the end here. I did want to pick your brain a little bit on the GLP one
Mm.
medications and what your opinion is on those.
You know about the doorknob phenomenon, right? When you're a therapist, the person asks the hardest thing right before they that's the hardest question I could possibly answer.
Sorry, I don't want to put you in the hot seat here. If you want, I can edit that part out.
Oh, no, it's just a huge conversation. I'm concerned about GLP-1 use at midlife and older. I'm concerned that it's being used as a treatment for menopause. Like, I totally understand that it is life-saving. I am providing nutrition support for women on GLP-1. There is no question that it is very helpful for many women. I'm also concerned about how there's no informed consent. There's no real conversation about data. There's no real conversation around side effects. I feel like it's being overly used many times without medical supervision and by people who already have an eating disorder. So there's a lot of risk. They're going to lose more. It's going to accelerate muscle and bone loss. We
Yeah.
don't need that. So I have concerns, but I also know it's helpful.
Right.
So I wish there was more conversation.
Yeah, I agree with you, and maybe we can revisit that conversation at some point. But
That's an easy hour.
yeah,
Hours worth for
sure.
sure.
I just
Yes.
wanted to touch on it because I think
Yes.
interesting is that I really feel as though these individuals should be having nutritional support from someone like yourself. I have witnessed poor eating choices, but it's okay because I'm on the GLP-1 now. I'm not judging at all. But the thing that concerns me is that there has been no talk about
Mhm.
seeking professional help with regard to nutritional guidance and the psychological part of whatever it is that they've been carrying about their relationship with food and their body. Yes. Uh,
Again, we agree.
right. I like
Yes.
that. So,
Yeah.
if every woman listening today remembered just one message from our conversation, what would you hope she carries with her?
Yeah, I it's hard to choose one, but I do think trying to not see your body as this project that you're trying to always fix, and instead of the fact that your body truly is your partner in this life. It really is your home. So developing a healthy relationship with your body goes a very long way.
Right. And if somebody came to you and said, "What's one thing I can start doing today that might put me in that good direction?" What would that be?
I'm a yoga teacher, so I really believe in rituals and practices because I think little practices add up to change over time. And so to start your day with a curiosity about how you're going to what is one thing you can do that would help you be connected to your body? Would that be slowing down and tasting your breakfast? Would that be like trying to
Love that one. Go ahead.
see how you feel in your clothing, like when you move, instead of looking at your body, instead move around in your clothing to see how you feel in your body? I'm not saying don't look in the mirror, but see if you can playfully see how your clothing feels before you look at your body so you don't objectify yourself first. So you practice really feeling embodiment. Yeah.
I like that one as well. So, just in case, if there was anything I didn't ask you that you were hoping that a message you would want to send, is there anything?
I think you did a great job. I think we touched on all the big things. Thank you.
Deborah, thank you so much for joining us today. Your work reminds us that healthy aging isn't about trying to become someone you're not. It's about building a healthier relationship with ourselves, our bodies, and this remarkable chapter of life. One of the things that stayed with me throughout our conversation is this. Perhaps we can these are my words, redefine aging, or maybe find a more suitable word that works for you. But first, we have to acknowledge what we've quietly been grieving all along, whether it's the loss of a role, changing expectations, shifts in our identity, or the changes we experience in our bodies. Naming those losses may be the very thing that allows us to move forward with greater freedom and self-compassion. At Beyond the Glass Slipper, we believe aging is a superpower. The wisdom we've accumulated through our experiences is one of life's greatest gifts. The question isn't whether we have that wisdom. The question is how we choose to use it. As you step into your encore this week, I invite you to become curious about the messages you've inherited, curious about the expectations you've been carrying, and curious about the stories you've been telling yourself. Curious enough to intentionally decide what deserves a place in your life you're creating today. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who may need to hear it. To learn more about Beyond the Glass Slipper, visit our website, explore previous podcast episodes, read our latest blogs, and join our growing community. You'll also find links in today's show notes to connect with Debra Benfield and learn more about her book titled Unapologetic Aging. Until next time, share generously. This is your encore, and always remember to stay curious.